I've been thinking about the filing system in my head recently, how we actually store the massive amount of information required to speak.
Ooh, that's a dangerous rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, I'm fully in it. And here's the debate I want to pitch to you based on what we read today. Is the mind a dictionary?
Okay.
A clean, organized list where Apple has one precise definition? Or is the mind an encyclopedia? A messy, chaotic scrapbook where Apple is all mixed up with, like, the smell of pie, the story of Isaac Newton, and that one time I got sick on cider.
You've just perfectly described the single biggest divide in modern semantics.
The war between the dictionary and the encyclopedia.
It really is a war. A 50-year battle, at least.
It is, isn't it? We're looking at Dirk Gerrit's modern semantic paradigms, and it's all about this post-structuralist era. And what struck me is this isn't just dry academic stuff. It's about the psychological reality of meaning.
Exactly. And, for anyone who follows linguistics, before the 60s, structuralism was king.
Right, language was just this system of signs,
Right.
totally separate from the human mind.
But Gerrit's pinpoints 1963 as the year it all changed.
That's in Fodor.
That's the one, 1963. They dropped this paper on componential analysis, and the details don't matter as much as the philosophy behind it. They basically said, hey, we can't just describe language on a page.
We have to describe what's happening inside the speaker's head.
They made semantics mentalist, and that created a huge problem.
Because the human mind is messy.
Incredibly messy. And that led to this split Gerrit talks about, the minimalists versus the maximalists.
It sounds like an interior design show.
A little bit, yeah. But it's really about how much world knowledge you let into your word knowledge.
The minimalists, or the neo-structuralists.
They're the dictionary people, right?
Yep. They want to keep the definition of a word clean, autonomous, separate from everything else you know about the world.
And the maximalists, the cognitive linguists, they just say, forget it. The encyclopedia is the only way. You can't separate the word from the world.
That's the whole conflict. Okay, so let's unpack the dictionary camp first. Because Gerrit lays out these 3 strategies they use to keep their mental rooms tidy. And honestly, they go to some pretty extreme lengths.
They really do. It's like trying to keep a white carpet clean at a muddy music festival.
The first strategy is basically, the mind is neat, but the world is fuzzy. This is Anna Wiertzbicke.
Ah, the natural semantic meta-language,
Yeah.
NSM.
Yeah, and I have to say, I struggled with this one. Her argument is that beneath all the complexity, we all share this strong lexicalization hypothesis.
A set of universal primitive concepts.
So, like, good, bad do happen.
Core atomic meanings that she says exist in every single language. And her method is to define everything using only that small set of words.
But the result is, it's just bizarre. I have to read her definition of sad again. It felt like I was reading code from a robot that had never actually felt sad.
Let's hear it.
She defines sad as, X feels something. Sometimes a person thinks something bad happened. If I didn't know it happened, I would say, I don't want it to happen. I don't say this now because I know I can't do anything. Because of this person feels something bad.
It's clunky, I know. But look at what she's trying to do. She's stripping away all the cultural baggage.
All the nuance.
Everything. She's looking for the universal code of sadness.
But is that really how we think? I know, I can't do anything. When I feel sad, I'm not running a logic script in my head. I'm just heavy.
And Wiertzbicke would say that heaviness is just the fuzzy world context. The concept itself, the thing that lets us translate sad into any language, is that little script.
So she's sacrificing the poetry to save the structure.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so that's strategy 1. Ignore the mess, find the code. Strategy 2, though, that one made a lot more sense to me. Conceptual knowledge is parsimonious, but perceptual knowledge is abundant.
This is Ray Jackendoff.
This?
And yeah, it's a very different approach.
Jackendoff feels like the delegator. He admits the mind is stagey, parsimonious. He's like, I'm not going to store a high-def movie of a verb in my dictionary.
I'm storing the bare minimum and letting the rest of the brain handle the details.
Exactly. He treats language as an interface. So, if I ask you for the linguistic definition of run, what is it?
Rapid movement along a path. Something like that.
Very simple.
Yeah.
But if I ask you to visualize running...
Oh, it's huge. I see sneakers, pavement, sweat, the mechanics of the knees. I can hear the breathing.
And Jackendoff's point is, that's not language.
Right. That's the visual cortex doing its thing. That's the perceptual abundance. The language module just hands off a simple command.
So he keeps his dictionary neat by outsourcing all the messy stuff to the art department.
Exactly. It preserves the autonomy of semantics. It builds the wall between what we say and what we see.
Which brings us to the third strategy, and I think this is the trickiest one. Semantics is stable, but pragmatics is flexible.
Pustojovsky and the generative lexicon.
Right, this is all about how words seem to change meaning depending on the context.
The example from the text was type coercion with the word beach.
Yes. So, normally, beach is a count noun, a place. I can go to a beach.
Right, it's a distinct thing, an entity.
But if I say, wow, you have a huge piece of beach stuck to your leg, suddenly beach isn't a place anymore.
No, it's stuff. It's a substance. Sand.
You've turned a count noun into a mass noun. A maximalist would say, see, the meaning changed. The dictionary is broken.
Pustojovsky says, not so fast. He argues the core definition of beach didn't change at all.
It was coerced.
The context did it. The phrase piece of forced the word to behave differently. The system flexed so the definition didn't have to break.
It feels a bit like a lawyer finding a loophole. The definition is still true, Your Honor. It was just coerced.
It is a bit legalistic, but it lets them hold on to their holy grail, a stable, context-free definition. They're fighting tooth and nail to keep that dictionary model alive.
But then the 1980s hit, and the dam just breaks.
And the maximalists storm the castle.
Enter cognitive semantics, and these thinkers, Lakoff, Langacker, Roche, they just say, stop pretending.
There is no wall, there is no dictionary, there is only the encyclopedia.
And the battering ram they used to break down the door was prototype theory.
Eleanor Roche. This is so fundamental.
I love this because it just destroys that old Aristotelian idea of categories. You know, the idea that a category is a box. You're either inside the box or you're out.
Necessary and sufficient conditions. To be a bird, you need feathers, a beak, wings, you lay eggs. Check all the boxes, you're a bird.
But Ross showed that's not how our brains work at all. We have a center-periphery structure.
So a robin is dead center, it's a good bird, a prototype.
But a penguin.
A penguin is way out on the edge. It's technically a bird, sure, but it's a bad example. It doesn't fly, it walks upright, it's fuzzy.
And the most important part is that the fuzziness isn't a mistake.
No, the fuzziness is the meaning.
Right. There's no clear line where a cup becomes a bowl. You can keep widening a cup, and at some point I'll start calling it a bowl, but there's no, specific millimeter where the definition officially switches.
Which means you can't write a neat dictionary definition for cup that covers everything.
Yeah.
You can only describe the prototype, the perfect cup, and then just say everything else is kind of like that.
And this leads to another idea in the text that I think explains so much about just, how we survive. Putnam's stereotype.
And the division of linguistic labor.
Yes. This is basically the admission that we're all pretty ignorant about most of the words we use.
Speak for yourself.
No, I'm kidding. This is totally me. The example is water. Ask a chemist what water is.
They'll say H2O, the molecular structure.
But I don't need to know that to use the word. I have a stereotype of water. It's colorless, it's wet, it comes out of a tap, it quenches thirst. And Putnam says that's good enough.
It's enough because of the social contract. You use the stereotype to get through your day, but you're leaning on that division of labor.
You trust that there's an expert somewhere, a scientist, who knows the real definition if things get serious.
It's like we're outsourcing the truth of our language. I can talk about gold versus fool's gold, even if I couldn't tell the difference chemically, because I trust a jeweler can.
Which puts meaning firmly in the social world, not just in my head. It's messy, it's cooperative, and it's definitely not a neat file card.
Not at all.
So, okay, we've gone from the clean dictionary to the fuzzy encyclopedia. But this next part is where I think the cognitive linguists really start to show off.
Metaphor, blending, and frames.
Let's start with metaphor. Because before Lakoff and Johnson in 1980, metaphor was just seen as decoration.
Right. Something for poets. My love is a red, red rose.
Exactly. But conceptual metaphor theory argues that metaphor is actually the operating system of thought. We literally can't think without it.
The classic example is love is a journey.
And I tried this. I tried to describe a relationship without using journey metaphors.
Yeah.
It is incredibly hard.
It is. You say things like, we're at a crossroads.
Look how far we've come.
We're just spinning our wheels.
This relationship is going nowhere. It's been a bumpy road.
You're mapping the domain of travel, which is concrete, you understand it, onto the abstract domain of love. You understand love as travel.
So it's not a figure of speech. It's a figure of thought.
Exactly. And then this gets an upgrade in the 90s with blending theory from Fauconnier and Turner.
Right, because sometimes we don't just map A onto B, we smash them together to make a new thing, see?
The Grim Reaper example from the text is perfect for this.
Yes, I want to dig into this, because on the surface it just sounds like another metaphor. but it's not.
It's more complex. Okay, so think about the inputs. Input 1, a reaper.
A farmer,
And
agricultural worker with a scythe who cuts wheat.
right, a harvest. It's actually a life-sustaining positive thing.
Okay. Input 2, death.
Abstract, inevitable, the end of life.
Okay.
Now blend them. You get a skeleton in a robe holding a scythe. But here's the magic part, the emergent structure that exists only in the blend. What does the Grim Reaper do with that scythe?
He kills people. He reaps souls. He cuts life short.
Exactly. But a real farmer doesn't use a scythe to kill people. And abstract death doesn't hold a tool. The logic that the scythe is a weapon is a creative invention that only exists in that blended space.
Wow. That's a real light bulb moment.
Yeah.
We took two totally unrelated concepts and created a new character with its own internal logic.
It shows that meaning is incredibly creative. We're not just retrieving definitions from a file. We're building new realities on the fly.
And we're framing those realities differently, too. That's the last piece of the cognitive puzzle, right? Frame
The
semantic.
buy versus sell example.
Cure perspective.
Yeah. Fillmore argues words are like camera angles. Take a commercial event. The reality is you have a buyer, a seller, money, and goods.
Okay.
If I say, Paloma bought a book, where's the camera?
It's on Paloma.
Yeah.
And the book. The seller's kind of in the background or invisible.
Right. But if I say, the shopkeeper sold a book to Paloma, the camera swings 180 degrees. The event is identical, but the meaning, the framing has totally shifted.
This is so relevant for how we read the news or listen to stories. The specific words chosen tell you who the protagonist is and who's just a background extra.
Words perspectivize the world.
So we've gone from the rigid code-like definitions of the neo-structuralists to the fuzzy prototypes to these dynamic creative blends and frames. It seems like the maximalists totally won the argument. Meaning is messy.
It is. But here's the twist ending.
Segment 4, the convergence.
In the last, say, decade or so, we've seen the rise of distributional semantics and big data. And weirdly enough, the computers have proven the maximalists right all along.
How does that work? I would have thought computers would love the dictionary approach. Clean rules, no mess, just give them the code.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But it turns out you can't teach a computer language by feeding it a dictionary. It just doesn't work. The only way computers actually learn meaning is by reading billions of sentences and looking at the chaos.
This goes back to that old quote from J.R. Firth in the 50s. You shall know a word by the company it keeps.
Collocation, exactly. A computer figures out what bank means, not by a definition, but by checking its neighbors.
So if bank is hanging out with river, fish, and mud,
The computer knows it's a geographical bank.
Yeah.
But if it's hanging out with money, robbery, and interest,
it's a financial bank.
right. And it gets so much more subtle than that. Think about the word deep. A computer can learn the difference between deep water and deep thought just by calculating the statistical probability of all the words that appear near them.
So, in a way, ChatGPT and these large language models are the ultimate cognitive linguists. They don't have a rule book.
They just have a massive statistical map of usage. They're usage-based models on steroids.
They prove that if you have enough data, enough encyclopedia, you don't even need the dictionary, meaning just emerges from all the connections.
It's a fascinating victory for the scruffy side of linguistics over the neat side. We tried so hard to force the mind to be neat, but it turns out all the power is in the mess.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've traveled from that mentalist turn in the 60s through the desperate attempts to keep semantics clean into the prototype revolution, and now finally to the big data convergence.
It's a journey from structure to usage, from strict rules to pure probability.
But I want to leave you with one final thought, a little bit of a provocation based on Putnam's division of labor.
Let's hear it.
We agreed that we all rely on experts to hold the true definitions of words like gold or water or vaccine, while the rest of us just get by with the stereotypes.
Right, that social trust is the glue holding the language together.
But we live in a time where trust in experts is, well, let's just say it's eroding.
That's putting it mildly.
So if that division of labor breaks, if we stop believing the scientist has the true definition, what happens to the word itself?
That is a nightmare scenario.
Does the word truth itself degrade? If the dictionary burns down and all we have left are our own fuzzy, biased personal stereotypes, are we even speaking the same language anymore?
If we lose that shared anchor, we're all just drifting in the deep water. And not the deep thought kind.
On that uplifting note, It's something to think about next time you reach for a definition. Thanks for diving deep with us.
A pleasure as always.
We'll see you in the next one.